waiting for another patron request. And I know what you're thinking. I've already tried. I've stabbed, I've shot, I've buried her up to her fucking face in feces. And that's just since the Joyful Noise review. She will not die! Permanently.
Damn straight I won't. Wanna know why? No. I'm not telling you anyway. You'll figure it out. The audience will too, but they'll get it first because they're smarter. Speaking of dumb, here, learn some Hebrew.
Rosetta Stone made a movie?
No.
It's a sequel to St. Clara?
No, it's a Gothsploitation movie. Look, it says so on the cover. Oh, you're gonna hate it.
This is a weird, low-budget movie from the UK and was made in 2013. Its director, Lewis June's day job's in costuming and armour in much bigger films than this. Stuff like Exodus, Gods and Kings, Alexander, Troy, Gladiator, and Star Wars Episode 1, the video game.
One of these things is not like the others. It's Alexander. Because it's good.
What exactly is learning Hebrew, beyond a weird, low-budget movie, I mean? Well, it's apparently a Gothsploitation movie. Beyond that, I'll let its official website explain. This is a truly independent film, created by a bunch of friends about freedom of expression, when all around us freedoms are being suppressed by those who claim to be offended. Learning Hebrew, a Gothsploitation movie, is a dark, surreal comedy unlike any you have seen before. Loud, colourful, and complicated. But it's more than that. It's a warning that you can't afford to ignore.
So, in short, I don't fucking know.
We open in British-occupied basement, Iraq. There's a guy being tortured, and it looks like the work of Lindy England's cousin, Lindy Britton. Either that, or this film's a torturous metaphor for the difficulties in learning a second language. Whatever's going on, I suspect the helicopter's involved. It tries to escape, but breaks the first rule of getting away with shit. It stops to shoot at people. Noob frag, sir. Regardless, we're still in a cemetery because this film is made of equal parts symbolism, confusion, silliness, and very snazzy outfits.
If you could email the dead, you could ask them what it was like to live forever.
This film is dead. Long live this film. Minion, email it.
Done. And it tells you to fuck off.
Wow, that is very fast.
Yeah, apparently Wi-Fi in Shoal is really good. And apparently it's really boring as well.
Now I want you to email some people who were killed in the helicopter footage.
Sure, no bother.
Back with the film, the voiceover's still going on. It's so plotting that it ripped a hole in time and even sent Alan Moore into a coma. And weird existential monologues nearly literally get him off. They then cancel out the deaths earlier with some actual birth footage. I kind of hope that kid's a reincarnation of one of those guys the helicopter killed, and he gets revenge at some point. The point of the voiceover is that only an idiot god would have designed the human body with the waste system overlapping the main entertainment area.
So don't even get me started on whose brilliant idea it was to have our plumbing area built in the same place as our pleasure centre. A funfair over a sewage works.
And it's a very fair point. Thing is, I, as God, never claimed to have invented the human race.
If I did, they'd be far sexier, you know, red and white face, long, unkempt hair, androgynous voice, ignored by YouTube. Oh yeah!
Now, there are gods, like Yahweh, who claim to have invented the human race, but generally they claim they were high at the time. They also tend to forget how to create shit when I remind them that they owe me money. Sitting in a graveyard, having a picnic, and generally being knobs are two of the film's many cockheads, Studdy and Bella.
I'm just glad that old graveyards like this are still here so we can eat vegan food on the bones of 500-year-old dead men. I hope someone has a takeaway curry on my corpse when I'm dead. That'd be really cool.
You might think that goths messing around in graveyards is kind of a recentish second half of the 20th century invention, but no, they're just following a proud tradition that started when Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein, swallowed Percy's meat and lost her virginity on her own mother's grave.
It'd be very impolite to do it on someone else's.
Every so often we cut back to the torture chamber, but I'm mostly skipping that because all we're getting is metal chairs roaring, and while it's more coherent than the narration, it sounds a little less pleasant. Ah, shit, the helicopter's back. Study, Bella, do something useful and alert the authorities.
think we can do better than that. What say you, Teddy?
I say words and then make music happen.
Good.
So far, this is at least 2 films, and regretfully, only one of them seems to be made by Beelzebub. Now we're in a Victorian commune, home of some of the most dignified S&M and the best-dressed garden slaves in the world. Mrs. John, the lady of the house, is spending the morning inventing the Cottingley fairies, before her guests, the rest of the cast of Tim Burton's Desperate Living, arrive for a garden party.
Miss John was a funny old bird,
All resembling divine and whatnot.
always ranting on about how public relations was a simple term for propaganda of the free market economy and how it had exploited feminism.
Whatnot being that. Here's the rest of the film's great many cockheads. I'm sure I'll name them as they do something noteworthy.
Is it alright if I smoke, Miss John?
Only the fucking boys can smoke.
Why is that then?
Because cigarettes are the symbol of the fucking penis, of course.
Girls can have my symbol.
Fuck's sake, you're such a sheep pilot, all bleeding and buying like a Christian.
Honestly, I feel a tad under-made up and not quite enough of an asshole for this scene.
We all know what happens to sheep, don't we? Get herded around by some bastard.
A closed-mouth pilot gathers no foot.
This is the film equivalent of doing Speed with a bunch of politics students discussing theology.
Manipulating people into being consumers. Fucking cunts.
This cake is absolutely delicious, Miss John.
You're not eating yours, Bella.
Is it vegan?
No, it's not. Here, have a fucking apple.
Mistress, they're breaking the fourth wall!
Bella is Mrs. John's daughter. I'm guessing adopted, but I could be wrong about that. It took her years to get from under Mrs. John's thumb. This is why Bella, at the drop of an invitation, brings all of her friends to Mrs. John's house for a garden party. She'll never suspect that Bella's desperately trying to keep away from her.
They say a snake bit Miss John once and died.
I think you can all fucking go now.
Thank fuck for that.
I will. Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
See how polite we are over here?
Because being amusing pricks and listening to metal doesn't pay the bills, the gang gets their day job, going door to door preaching Darwinism.
For us, work was a war on ignorance, and the battleground was not for the hearts, but for the minds of Londoners.
Londoners? Mines? Fuck, you out there for a while.
We're just in your local area, talking to people about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. No, really, it's...
This is a fantastically hilarious idea, but I preferred it in John Safran vs. God, when he did it for real in Salt Lake City.
I'm a bishop.
Oh, really?
In the LDS Church.
The oldest church. Well, have you ever considered atheism? We believe that the Bible is just made up and it didn't really happen.
Okay, then beat him. Then beat him.
This is inappropriate. Take us off your list.
These assholes are doing it in London, which is the equivalent of going door to door in Salt Lake City for Mormonism.
We was wondering if we could have a moment of your time.
I'm sorry, but I'm a solipsist.
Dude, if you're a solipsist, you must really hate yourself for inventing them. That would have been a perfect cameo for the writer of the film, but Louis June was far too busy playing pilot. This guy puts the words, "Oh fuck, I'm terrified," into dreadlocks. So, is that door-knocking scene still happening?
Just fuck off!
Oh yes, and we're just in time for a punchline.
Darwin's theory on evolution through natural selection. We know it, don't we, Stace? Many fossil stages from the same area show land mammals evolving into whales.
Australopithecus towards Homo habilis.
Da 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 da.
Then we're on to yet more voiceover, this time about evolution and juxtaposed with some common or Garden of Eden imagery. Don't know about you, but I'm going to be so disappointed if that snake doesn't end up fucking someone.
So, talking serpent, fuck me. All I can say is, thanks for all the sex.
Well, thanks to this and a remake, atheist and Christian movies now officially have the same amount of Austrian snake fucking.
I did one with a python, too.
Thanks for all the sex.
I'm still disappointed, though. Anyway, it's our final door of the day, and what do you know, it's a priest's house.
Can I help you?
I think we've hit gold!
They got so turned on, they pushed him into a flashback.
We're about to find out he's being tortured in Iraq, and what do you know? It's Pilate. I assume his non-regulation hair finally got him in trouble. Believe it or not, but in a very weird and kinda subtle-ish bit of symbolism, Pilate is meant to be Pontius Pilate. Yes, that one. So I assume he was in Iraq as part of the Italian army.
You'll answer my questions. All of them. If you refuse, I will hurt you.
What? Sorry, I don't speak sitting at the bottom of a pit in the industrial section of hell. And for some reason, his interrogators study. This whole thing would work much better if this part of the film was done in CCTV. Oh good, I see it's dedicated to the whole evolution thing. Gimp cam. So, what's he being grilled for? The release of some guy called Barabbas.
We're conducting an inquiry into a failure of your command. I want to know why you freed a common criminal and substituted his execution for the murder of an innocent man.
I have all kinds of things to say about Barabbas and Pilate, but the scene's over. Oh well, I'm sure I'll come back to it. The rest of the gang has enlisted Poison Ivy and figured a garden's the perfect place to use her powers, should it become necessary. And what are her powers? Walking on grass without snapping her ankles like twigs.
That music is fucking great. It sounds like a victory in an RPG.
Hey, Alan Moore's back and he's suddenly terrible at dowsing. Turn your head 45 degrees to the left, you fool. I know Miss John dresses like an ugly sister, but I didn't expect to have to bring up pantomime tropes too.
It's behind you!
Oh, no, it isn't.
Yes, it fucking is!
Look at that old tramp, like what the fuck is he doing?
Failing, mostly. So the gang decide that his freakout looks like he's raving, so naturally they kidnap him, pierce him, drug him, and take him out clubbing.
Line to line, sideways, slimy, the bullshit. Take off the brain, dissolve away, drain them.
You're a raver, Hagrid.
I almost can't believe I need a kidnap encounter for this movie, but then I remember the kind of shit I usually watch, so...
I can see the music. Well, it looks like they either ran out of budget or goodwill for a soundtrack, so that scene ends and we're back to the talking. The homeless guy is very pissed off, though I suspect it's because he's mostly come down and noticed that all of his stuff that was left behind in the park has been lifted.
You look like an ancient Greek philosopher. What's the secret of life then, Phil?
Is his name Phil?
Phil? Phil the philosopher.
Now, he could answer that question, or he could pose an even more pointless one.
Do I look like a philosophical argument? Do I?
Well, that depends on what you mean by philosophical argument. Just waiting for everyone to get that. And there it is.
So I can only assume, by the power of consensus reality, the homeless guy is now a philosopher. So Study and Goth Baby Spice start to ply him and his new orifices with questions.
The secret of life is simply finding something greater than yourself and dedicating your life to it.
Well, they all fucked that up by choosing... this?
Oh, and lowering your expectations.
Okay, maybe not. His whole rant is like a manifesto from a past, present and future. What the fuck is wrong with you, Star?
Anything I tell you now will fall on deaf fish.
Out of all the philosophers they could have drugged him into becoming, they just had to choose Diogenes. Though he could just be in it for the possibility of a barrel.
You lot are all dedicated to hedonism. I have no time for you.
Get your hedonism on straight, you assholes! I love how partway through his storm off he remembers that the tree is his high ground, so it's the rest of them that should fuck off.
You can go now!
And so they do, eventually, right past a waterfall and into another flashback. Date, very unknown, seeing as Pilate was both Pontius Pilate and the helicopter pilot. Though, probably not at the same time. Not because I think that's a bit too mad for this film, but because it's probably hard to wash your hands at the controls of a Black Hawk. And movies, surely the statute of limitations in him releasing Barabbas 2,000 years ago must have run out by now.
Okay, fine. End the scene before I talk about Barabbas. I'll talk about him later.
Next we're at Pilate's sweet-ass house. Half Etruscan, half Sloane Ranger. I'd wonder aloud about how a professional, delusional Pickles the drummer impersonator could afford that place, but I think it's the director's actual house. Probably paid for by his movie work. Now, I know what you're thinking, but this movie contains equal parts Hebrew, subtlety, and pizza. But here's a twist. Bella's learning Hebrew. Yeah! Study's inspecting the atheist Christmas tree, and when he finally remembers his line, Pilate's gonna do some coke. Finally, someone's gonna be high enough to really enjoy this. Pity it's gonna be the mice. Blow. And speaking of blow, Pilot and a fantastic looking off-screen popsicle stand.
Oh, he's such a wanker! Oh, why do we put up with him?
He's got a car, he lets us live here for free, and he's got a fucking good book collection.
Fourth reason, he's tolerant as fuck, in that he hasn't snapped and stabbed any of you. Yet.
Wait, they all live there with him? Is this a goth remake of Oliver and Company? Pilot is a hot date unknown in town, alas Mrs. John has decided that she's his arch nemesis, for reasons that I'm unconvinced they'd worked out at this point in filming, and sends some people out to track him down and beat him to death. He's so distinctive looking they didn't need to be any good at the first one, and they're shit at the second one because they're agnostics, and therefore can't commit and so stop the job halfway through and let him live.
And no, that's not a joke. A hilarious joke, though it would be. That's literally the reason they stopped beating to death.
A couple of agnostics beat me up. They gave up halfway through. You know what agnostics are like.
On the train is one of London's many Rob Halfordograms. He's the mysterious leader of the Atheist Revolutionary Army.
We are the warriors of the Atheist Revolutionary Army.
A group mainly dedicated to a 50% reduction of the letter A.
We are stronger than the pious fighter pilot. We are braver than the holy suicide bomber in the marketplace.
And most importantly, we're so rational we're letting everyone know our faces and voices. Also, little known fact, but atheists don't believe in realistic explosions.
Peace through critical thinking be upon you.
They're not real atheists, they're just extremists.
Time for another flashback, this time about Barabbas. Hey, someone finally learned Hebrew. Not very well, I'm guessing it's wrong. He's played by the homeless guy, less Godspell and more Gothspell. This film is obsessing over Barabbas. Now, the story in the Bible that he appears in doesn't actually make sense. The Romans didn't release a crowd's choice of prisoner on a feast day. That literally didn't happen, and there was no reason for them to do it in the first place. So, what's that story about? Well, Barabbas was his second name, and it meant son of the father. Bar-Abbas. And his first name was Jesus. So he was Jesus, son of the Father. And of course, the famous Jesus was Jesus, son of God. God being the Father. So I think the film is suggesting that the Barabbas Jesus story was a weird symbolic thing that the early writers inserted into the Jesus story to separate a regular person executed by the Romans from the God being he was supposed to be. That's why Pilate earlier said that Barabbas was released.
I want to know why you freed a common criminal and substituted his execution for the murder of an innocent man.
And yet here he is, being crucified. Of course, it could just be a very silly film.
I'm with you, Minion Cat.
What happened to you?
A couple of agnostics beat me up.
Fuck's sake. Man, you can hardly go out on your date looking like that now, can you?
No.
Yeah, she'll be confused. It's a marked improvement over how he usually looks. Since she'll be confused anyway, Study selflessly goes in his place.
Yoink! Nicely. Hi, I'm Pilot. You expecting me?
Mm-hmm.
Great. I got a bottle of wine.
Well, I don't drink.
I never drink wine. I only whine about drinking.
Oh.
It's not exactly the sort of date he was expecting, though.
So, what kind of sex do you like?
Oh no, it's the sort he was dreaming of. It's the least vomity and gory parts of the vomit gore movies, complete with his own dance track.
I can do bondage, strict bondage, Chinese bondage, penny play, pony girl, fetish.
You could edit this into preaching to the perverted and no one could tell the fucking difference. This is a good thing.
Water sports, Japanese rope bondage, emergency surgical butt plug withdrawal.
With that many options, they could easily fill a science fiction double feature. It's pretty clever, actually. By the time she's finished her presentation, the hour will be almost up.
Can't we just fuck?
No.
The moral here is always find out what the speciality is before booking a sex worker. What did he end up choosing? One of her specialty items, sitting there gormlessly and then being shot on the way home.
Target is leaving now.
We in the business call that a very happy ending. He survives, though, because of the will of the great Lord Dawkins. Science and good bookbinding be upon him.
Chapter 8, page 341 is where the bullet stopped.
How moderation in faith fosters fanaticism?
Yeah, that's the one. But strangely enough, I'm slightly more concerned about being shot.
The bullet was meant for Pilate. The assassin was hired by Mrs. John. They still not explained why, beyond everyone hitting Pilate, and Mrs. John being a cunt, but explanation's not really one of this film's strengths. Anyway, Magdalena the redhead, aka Poison Ivy, is hiding a dark secret. That's not her actual hair colour. Nah, she believes in God and an atypical dildo storage. A bed is a bad place to store them, but on the plus side, she has room for many, many more. So what god does she worship? Oh, all of them.
One day she's a Muslim, the next day she's a Hindu.
Another day she's posing for a goth lesbian pin-up calendar with me.
The conflict in her polytheistic mind must be driving her insane.
She worships me on the third day of the month of Zeb Bellringer from 6:18 a.m. to 6:19 a.m. Afghanistan Standard Time. As if any other time exists.
I believe in all the gods, and if you believe in just one, you risk all, and are no better than those who believe in just one god less than you, and call themselves godless.
Surely praying to all the gods is just making any real and jealous ones madder and madder. Personally, I don't give a fuck if anyone worships me. In fact, in her case, I'd rather she worship me less and give me more lap dances. Oh look, like most goths, she's a little teddy.
That only happens to me if I'm out in the sun too long.
You get renamed Richard Dawkins?
Hey, that only happened twice.
There's drama and a plot twist about, because she's taken enough drugs to fall asleep with the lights on, not wake up when Pilate breaks into a room, and not care when she finds her Quran.
You're really in fucking trouble now.
But beyond that, there's even more important stuff afoot. Stuff like an erotic dream about an angry homeless philosopher. We've all been there. You know, you, me, Alexander the Great. Yep, she's having a vision about Phil/Barabbas/possibly Jesus/Diogenes/Phil's not actually his name. Of course, maybe I'm wrong and she just really likes progressive folk and Jethro Tull is a religious experience.
Please don't tell my friends I have seen you. They're not going to accept me anymore.
Oh no, those dicks won't be my friends anymore. Can you also not give me £1 million?
I died and bettered. Yet no one moves for the poor Barabbas.
This shit is why visions should come as subtitles as standard.
I'm sorry if your Lord God is dead. I'm sorry about my friends that I was not saved.
They take his face. They give you. Take your face. You can lead to horses and crap regardless. I'll believe it.
There's a lot going on in this film, and not much of it is coherent. It's like an extended episode of Eurotrash about the British. Mrs. John is engaging in her favourite pastimes, cleaning a gun, wearing a dress made of arsenic, and fitting a cross-dresser who lives under her table.
Come. Oh, it's you.
Bella's here.
Her maid looks like a slightly sluttier relative of Magenta from Rocky Horror. Her maid's Columbia from Rocky Horror. She and Bella and colourblind Minnie the Minx Mode are having dinner together. The sacred ecto cooler. It doesn't look anything like the picture. So they're both fucking delighted.
I wouldn't have the soup. She made me do something horrible with the courgettes.
What, like cook them and put them in a soup? I fail to see how that's worse than ruining a perfectly good soup by putting courgettes in it.
Just thank you, Boo. That will be all. Please come home, Bella.
Then I can have Boo put biological sex aids into all your meals. Anyway, they finally revealed how Mrs. John keeps trying to kill Pilate. Bella's living with him instead of her.
You can't like living at Pilate's house. He's such a wanker.
Oh, and the wanker thing, though, this is like pointing out the wanker in a building covered in crusty ejaculate, because everyone inside keeps masturbating all the time.
Look at it. Taste it. Smells like rancid cum.
Boo! Boo!
Boo!
Can you ask cook to open a tin of lentil soup, please?
I don't know what was in the soup, but pretty soon Mrs. John's hallucinating Bella as a Cenobite, and Bella's seeing Mrs. John talking bollocks in a deep voice. So at least her soup wasn't drugged. In most films, that would pretend interesting developments ahead, but this film zigs, rather zags, so the rest of the dinner party is uber-dramatic slurping and mostly boredom.
What's the main course, Boo? I'm getting impatient and hungry. Is it vegan and is it free from Miss John's habitually strange recipe ingredients?
Oh, great. She misunderstood Spotted Dick again.
You will not try to kill Pilot again. Do you understand me?
But Bella, everyone wants Pilot dead. You told me so yourself.
Pretty sure that was a statement, not a command. In short, because she's an arsenic hole, Mrs. John can't convince Bella to come home, for reasons that don't make much sense and aren't explained very well, but reference wildly disparate things.
Your life's like a mixture of Jane Austen and Bard of Meinhof. Why don't you get a fucking life?
It's like a microcosm of the film itself. Oh hey, Goth Lindsay Ellis. I bet she's done a really well-researched and entertaining video about Begotten. I hope she uploaded it before suicide bombing that train.
Camden! Oh well, suddenly most things in this film make sense.
I'm very glad that Mystique and the rest of the Mutant News team is here to give us the truth the lamestream media won't, or can't. I hear their weatherman Sheeple is a particularly powerful member of the Brotherhood. What does on location and roving reporter Wolverine have to say about it?
Cunts! Fucking cunts! Fucking cunts! Fucking cunts!
Unfortunately, Frank Miller was writing him in that report.
You are a fucking atheist, cunts! Fuck off back to where you come from! I don't want to see you ever in my backyard again!
Yeah, why don't you fuck off back to... Athea?
Another program on the Nazis.
Another flashback, and every time they cut back to these two, we get even less sure about where the fuck they're meant to be. They've even given up on the captions. And conversely, I'm giving even less of a fuck. On the plus side, it looks like they're going to torture Pilot for not knowing how interrogations work.
I told you, if you answered a question with a question, I would hurt you. And now, I will.
I get that you have to hurt him, but you have to hurt the hearing members of the audience too. So there's reading because it's fundamentalist. And Mrs. John concocts another scheme to kill Pilot. This time, she's going to hire an omni-religious paramilitary force dedicated to killing atheists. As you do. These guys are basically atheist busters.
Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and other assorted Kirk Cameron paraphernalia.
And I love Jesus' style, you know. Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
Nobody steps on a church in my town!
Tried to think of the most harmless thing. Something I loved from my childhood. Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Nice thinking, Ray. Ray has gone bye-bye, Hagan. What have you got left?
Sorry, Franklin. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
We're ready to believe in God! At least it won't be that expensive. They can't even afford to license the coexist symbol using their flyers. Now this film has many problems, but one of its most egregious is Mrs. John having a fantasy that manages to make blood play unsexy.
Bloody fucking hell.
And I hate to rehash a point from Death Games, but she's on stage. Sitting down and cutting yourself is just bad performance art. It's something that literally almost anyone can do. Fantasy over, the gang are going out clubbing. Semi-literally in the case of Phil, the homeless guy. He's replaced his dependence on alcohol with a crushing need to drink glow stick fluid. Magdalena is naturally attempting to act freaked out by this, seeing as she now thinks he's God. But, to be fair, she thinks a lot of things, both real and imaginary, are God.
He's a man from my dreams, I was about to tell you. His name is Barabbas. Barabbas.
No, that's impossible. I had him crucified on the 12th year of the reign of the Emperor Tiberius.
Shut up, you're a fucking mad cunt.
It's very nice of Study to really embrace his true nature as the internal riffer of the film. Pity there's about 5 minutes left.
What's he saying?
He's speaking Hebrew. He said his name's Barabbas.
Barabbas.
Oh my god!
Indeed.
You You know, this twist would have worked much better if we'd not earlier been told that he was Barabbas, seen him being Barabbas, and if it made any fucking sense. Anyway, to sum up, Barabbas is Jesus, kinda, and he got crucified by Pilate, who's maybe mad, maybe an immortal, or maybe both. Barabbas worked out who he was when he got high in the club, and rather than tell anyone, he just wandered around, being indistinguishable from a mentally ill homeless guy. But, seeing as that's what he is, good, I guess.
Just be quiet while I'm eulogising.
It is very impolite to eulogise someone before they've actually died, so do the polite thing and stamp on him.
He's not actually dead yet, but, you know, once he is, we can all say we loved him and shit. Because everyone loves you when you're dead.
Funny, he might be an atheist, but Study's vocal track just got briefly raptured. Hating to leave stuff unfinished, Pilate tries to stab Phil Rabbis, but gets chased away by Study because murder is bad. Not like refusing to call an ambulance.
I'm just gonna phone an ambulance. No, what are you doing? Do you want to miss this party?
Or leaving him prone in the middle of a street so an unrelated gang of goths can run him over if there's a sequel. Anyway, Bella gets Magdalena to leave the side of her fallen savior by telling her that she knows she's a theist, that she found a religious paraphernalia.
I found your rosary, and I found your statue of Dionysus. We're gonna have a long talk about this later.
Okay, fine, perfect, she did all that. Thing is, earlier on, it was Pilate who found stuff, and it was a Quran.
You're really in fucking trouble now.
Meaning that it looks like the writer-director somehow got these two characters mixed up, which is hilarious when you remember that this is the writer-director. Regardless, they've left him to die.
I'll pray for you.
Or not, if she prays really hard.
Don't know the secret of life now, do you, you dead cunt?
This is horrific. A tragedy. Not Phil, though. I'm pretty sure he's been dead before. This. Meanwhile, instead of laptop that contains Bizarre magazine, we have fire dancers. The fire dancers are symbolic of the need to play something that sounds a bit like the Electric Hellfire Club, but isn't.
Well done, Circus of Horrors. I'm glad you finally made a movie. Would have been nice if it was more coherent than one of your stage shows, but you can't have everything.
But enough preaching to the perverted, it's all going down in the toilets. Study's convinced that the group's drifting apart. Manslaughter, well, homeless man-god slaughter will do that. And Bella's moving back in with Mrs. John, and it's somehow all Pilate's fault. Because everything is Pilate's fault.
I'm not letting this group break up, do you get that?
Study, I get that you want to punish Pilate for something, but he's already done manslaughter and attempted murder tonight. You don't need to turn into a violent and paranoid teen girl to do it. And look at the haircuts involved in this tiff. It's like both of Waddy Buchan from the Exploited's haircuts at a fight.
Do not fuck with me, Pilate. That old tramp was twice the man that you are. When he took the piss out of me, he learned a lesson he didn't get to profit from.
Yeah, all because Pilate killed him by accident, and then you stopped him from killing him deliberately.
Anyway, Mama John's pet crossdresser was seeking out new and interesting places to lurk, so caught the fight and gives the order.
The Gimp says it's time for the gag.
Time for the atheist busters to say Cirque du Soleil to the evening's fun.
That damn Bureau of Normalcy!
Well, they don't kill everyone. Pilate's grabbed for more interrogation, and Bella conducts a thrilling off-screen escape that I assume involved dressing like the Borg Queen if she was the Borg drag queen. Either that or she's an unusually garish-looking zombie who's worked in an efficient way to access the human brain.
What does justice taste like, huh? What does it taste like? It tasted gross.
Remember, you gave up what is most precious, the freedom to think, but worse than that, you gave it up without a fight.
What the hell was that?
Good song. I'm glad all the atheists got to experience it.
Okay, the Dom. The Dom. Does he know? Learning Hebrew, you are a riddle wrapped up in an enigma crammed into a fantastic corset. This is less an actual film and more a collection of concepts, musings, and ideas about religion and atheism, given bodies and acted out in a really over-the-top fashion. It's fabulous, it's got a fuckload to say, and much of it isn't very coherent, but it's really fucking entertaining. Here's something fun I noticed. The book, Learning Hebrew, in the film was written by one Joshua Barabbas. Now, Jesus isn't an ancient Hebrew name, it's derived from Yeshua, which is usually translated into modern English as Joshua. That book was written by Jesus Barabbas, which is hilariously subtle compared to most of the film. Anyway, to sum up this film, freedom of expression is awesome and killing people is usually shit. Barabbas and Jesus were the same guy and might have survived into the modern day, or might be a reincarnation. And Pontius Pilate might have survived into the modern day, or might have been reincarnated, or might just be nuts. And elsewhere, there's a bunch of very well-dressed pricks.
And Mrs. John, who's just a prick. I'm Demon Hagan, and I have to live with it every day.